Welcome students who are taking math for business and finance and math applications, and in the series of videos we are covering the chapter 21 summary practice test. So let's get started. All right, so problem number 1. All right, it says Russell Slater bought 700 shares of Disney stock at $24.90 per share. Assume a commission of 4% of the purchase price. What is the total cost to Russell? All right, let's see here. Yeah, okay. If you look at problem 21-7 and also 21-16 and 21-17, these two went together. They're very similar to this particular problem. I mean, 21-7 is identical to this problem, but there's more than one way to be able to do this problem. So you can go back and watch those videos to see the couple of different ways. I'm not going to go over them again. I'm just going to work the problem as I would. All right. So I have $24.90 is the price of the shares, and there's 700 shares. So that's 0, 0, 0, 3, 6, 28, 34, 3. That's $17,430 is the total cost for the shares. But we also have 4% in commission charges. So I'm going to multiply that by 1.04. Remember, just as a quick aside, there's that 0.04, 4% as a decimal form is 0.04. Okay, and since we're adding the 4% to the 17,430, that's why it's 1. 1 is representative of 100%. So we're adding 4 above the 100%, 4% above the 100% to the 17,430. All right. So when we do that math, we end up with 18,127.20 as the total cost of the shares, the 700 shares of Disney stock, to include the 4% commission. Okay, again, if you look at those particular questions, you can see a slightly different way of doing this, but it's just doing more math, but it ends up being the same answer, of course. Right, question number 2. Avis Company earns $2.50 per share. Today the stock is trading at $18.99. The company pays an annual dividend of 25 cents. Calculate A, the price to earnings ratio, and B, the yield on the stock. Okay, so let me see here. I'm looking for the problems that are very similar to this. See, okay, nope. Okay, so if you look at problem 21-19, this is very similar to that, exactly the same as this problem. So if you need additional, go back and look at that particular problem. All right. So it's asking us, one, what is the PE ratio? Okay, price to earnings. Okay, and the formula, as I said, I don't memorize formulas, but I know a ratio is a fraction, and price to earnings, so price is over the earnings. So today's stock price is $18.99, and the earnings are $2.50. So I divide $18.99 by the $2.50. $18.99 divided by $2.50, and you end up with 7.596, but we're rounding to the nearest whole number. All right, so we're looking at 0.5, so we round up. So we're rounding up to 8. Okay, and the price to earnings ratio is almost always shown in whole numbers. Okay, all right, then the yield is what you're getting, what you get back versus divided by whatever your cost was. Okay, So when we're looking at a stock, we're talking about the dividends over the price of the stock. Right? So our dividend in this case is 25 cents, and we're dividing that by the price of the stock of $18.99. When we get 0.25 divided by $18.99, we end up with 0.01316, and it's telling us to round to the nearest tenth. So I convert this to 1 point, and the nearest tenth is here. We're going to round down. So we get 1.3% is our yield. Okay. All right. Next problem. The stock of Aware is trading at $4.90. The price to earnings ratio is 4 times the earnings. Calculate the earnings per share, right, to the nearest cent. So our earnings per share is the price over the PE ratio, and that is 490, and we're dividing that by 4, and that gives us by 4 1.225, and we're rounding to the nearest cent, so it's 1.23 cents per share. Okay. Number 4. Tom Fox bought 8 bonds of UXY company at 3.5% at a price of 84, and 4 bonds of Foot company with interest of 4 1/8 at 93 at a price of 93. Assume the commissions on the bonds is $3 per bond. What was the total cost of all of the purchases? Okay, remember, and always keep this in the back of your mind, okay, that when you're doing word problems, you have information that's directly related to solving the problem, you have information that has nothing to do with solving the problem, and then you have information that has to be manipulated. And so it's asking, what is the total cost of the purchases? Well, if I'm looking at the total cost of the purchases, I'm going through this information, I have 8 bonds, so I'm going to need that, and at $84, at 84 is the price of the bond, but this 3.5% is interest and has nothing to do with the cost of the bond. Okay, and the same thing with the Foot. You know, you have 4 bonds at 4 1/8%. The 4 1/8 has nothing to do with solving the problem, and at 93. And of course, the $3 commission, you know, we're going to have to manipulate that somewhat too. Right, so we have 8 bonds of UXY company at 84, right? So the price is 84. So I know the cost is 840. Now, you can go back and let me see if I can't find where I was doing all of that math. Let's see here. Stock. Let's see, the bond was quoted. Okay, yeah. If you go back to problem 2121 and you watch that video, it'll explain, showing the math, how I arrived at $840. And in a little bit later one, I actually stopped. I actually went and did the shortcut, because I had explained that after you've done the math so many times, you see the relationship to be able to understand how to determine what the price is just by the cost of the bond based upon the price. So go back and watch, you know, that video to see how the math is done. But, you know, going forward, I'm just going to use what, you know, my intuition, and save myself from doing all of that math. Okay, so I have 8 bonds at 84, which is 8 at 840 because that's the value of a bond at 84. And I have 4 bonds at 93, which is 930. Okay, so I do the math there, and I get, let's see here, 840. I end up with, let's see, $6,720. And 4 at 930, I end up with $3,720. Okay, I add those two together. So I have a total value for all of those bonds of $10,440. But it says assume the commission on the bonds is $3 per bond. Well, if I have 12 bonds, that's 8 plus 4 is 12. And it's at $3 each, that's an additional $36 that I have to add to this cost. And I end up with $10,476 is the total cost of all of the purchases. Okay. All right, so with that, I'm going to stop right now and pick up with the last 3 problems in the next video. And just be aware that, pause, rewind, watch the videos again. And if you still don't understand something, feel free to contact an instructor. See you in the next video.